Hello everyone and welcome back to Tim Talks Music. I'm Tim Butler and today we have yet another special interview for you. The other day I had the pleasure of interviewing Philly legend Brett Talley. Brett is a guitarist, producer, and engineer in the Philly area. Brett was in many bands in the Philly area like Ike, Outset, and Bangarang. So I hope you enjoy my interview with Brett Talley. So when did music start to impact your life in a meaningful way?
I was in third grade, third grade, and my dad had, they were called tape. What were they? 8-track tapes? Mm-hmm. They were called 8-track tapes, and my dad used to have a like a wooden panel collection of them going down our basement steps. So anytime you would go down the steps to the basement, you would pass these 8-tracks. And my dad had all the Beatles, the Eagles, and I remember he had Steely Dan. And the Steely Dan one I remember listening to a lot because I loved that song Reelin' in the Years. But I started listening to the Beatles 8-tracks. And he had another case that I found that was all Beach Boys. Oh, wow. So my childhood was nothing but the Beatles, Beach Boys, and I go back and forth. I used to make like old VHS. I would set up a camera and I would record myself. I would dress up like Mike Love from the Beach Boys. Like I would go and I would find a Hawaiian shirt and I would put on a Beach Boys live album. Mm-hmm. And I would sing like I was Mike Love and I knew all the words, like not just the songs, but like his banter between songs. So I would imitate Mike Love and record myself, and then I would go back and watch him and just laugh and be like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that for real. So that's where it all like really began. But my first cassette I ever was given was for Christmas. I was given the Beach Boys Surf's Up. It was the first cassette. And with that cassette, they gave me a cassette player. Mm-hmm. And I still have it somewhere, a picture of me like with this tape and the player. And I remember that was it. That was the beginning. From there, I bought every tape I could find that I was into and went from there.
So how has your guitar playing evolved over the years?
Wow, these are good questions. This is awesome. So I think about this a lot lately because something I always said to people close to me and who know me, that I feel like the older I've gotten, the better my playing has become. And I know that sounds like cliche, like, well, duh, yeah, of course it is, you're older. But there's a difference. Like, I notice now when I play more, I'm feeling it more than picking up a guitar and playing it. Playing a guitar has changed for me, I guess, like, emotionally, whereas before it was, hey, check out this Metallica song I can play, and Pearl Jam. Well, I can nail this solo. Blah 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 blah. It was who could play the. I remember in high school once, we were in my backyard, me and two guitarist friends, and I'm gonna date myself here, but the White Zombie second album had just come out with More Human Than Human. You know this, right? You're like a music aficionado here, but everyone had to learn that riff to More Human Than Human. It had that slide part. And we just remember in my yard, we had all these metalheads one day after high school in my yard, all taking turns, like who could play More Human Than Human the most, like more, and I won. That's a true story. I'm not just saying that. But now it's different. Now, like I notice, like I want to play guitar more, like for myself. Like I make it a point now, at least once a day, if it's on a guitar that's like next to my bed, I keep a guitar next to my bed. I keep all the guitars out here in the studio, so they're just so accessible. It looks like overkill, but it's important for many reasons. But one of the reasons is I need to be able to come down here and without thinking about it, pick up a guitar and play. And then whether it's I'm going over something, I just free play, write something, or I just do something for myself. Like I never used to do that. It was, oh, we have this gig on this date. Okay, cool. I'll be there and I'll play. And then, I don't touch my guitar till that gig, and then we do it, we play it. Your dad was there for a lot of those gigs back in the day. It's much, much different now. Now I look forward, like I try to make it a point when I go to sleep at night, I say to myself, did you touch a guitar today? And did you do something creative? And I try to answer those questions every night, yes, you know.
All right, so you went from Outset to Ike and then to the Caulfields. Can you talk more about how all that happened?
We used to get together in this playground in a rec center that Phil used to work in, and we wrote our first record there, and we recorded it in my recording studio. But at that point, I had stepped up a little bit. I went from an 8-track to a 24-track. Wow. I was stepping up. I got more tracks. And we did our first record on that. First and second record. And I don't know, we did okay in the scene, you know, as one can do back then. This is like 2005, 2006. We were lucky to be played on MMR at the time by Jackson. We were the local shot, so our big single they played. Again, this is why we love your dad so much. A true story, the first time Outset was ever played on the radio, which was 93.3 WMMR, we were on our way to play a show for your dad again. And me and Phil are in the car, and we didn't know if we were going to be the local shot. That you would play the night before. Jackson the next day would decide of the bands he was going to play. So you would tune in and listen. And Phil picked me up, and we're in his car. We're on Roosevelt Boulevard going to Philadelphia University. And they announced that Outset is like the scene in That Thing You Do. We started going crazy. You know, we started speeding. I remember that. We're calling people, oh my God, they're playing us! Like, Phil's phones were like, we're screaming at each other, like, we're on the radio! It was like total chaos. And I remember getting down there and like just running right into your dad, we were just on the radio! It was awesome. And I remember we went on stage and played the song, and we were like, this song was just played on 93. It was amazing. Anyway, in those shows that we used to do, John Fay was in attendance. John Fay of the Caulfields, John Fay Power Trip, Ike. I was not really aware of John Fay at the time, but Phil Murphy in Outset was. So John started to come see us a lot more, Outset, and we got to know him personally. But then in the background, Phil had really turned me into like an alcoholic, we call it. And I loved everything John had done, and I loved the Caulfields. I was aware of the Caulfields because I grew up in that time. I knew the song, like the big song was a part of my life. And Phil was like, dude, he's plays in a band called Ike. We should go see him. And I was like, okay. And I always tell John this, the first time I saw Ike was when they were announced that they were opening for Bon Jovi by MMR, you know, gave that to them. And that was my first Ike show. And I was like, oh my God. So not only was my first Ike show, but I got to see that. And they told them that like right before they went on. They had no idea. 2 minutes before going on and playing a full rock set, you just get told, by the way, you're opening for Bon Jovi. Now get up there. That was my first Ike show. And I just loved it, dude. Like, I loved the hard rock combination with like pop good songwriting, you know? And from seeing Ike and getting like so immersed in that led me, well, who's this guy on lead guitar who's like amazing? Cliff Hillis. Next thing you know, I start listening to all of Cliff Hillis's music and come to find out that, well, that incredible bass player in Ike is also the bass player on Cliff's record, and this drummer is also on Cliff's record. I was like an obsessed fan, and I think at some points I was, and they hated me for it, but it worked out later. But I don't know. This is not me being egotistical, like, or whatever. This is a fact, and this is something I've always had since I started playing guitar. But I just had this ability to, when I hear music, I just know what it is. Like, you could play a song for me, and I'd be like, oh, D to A. Like, I just know, because I've been doing it for so long, and I just love music so much. I know what chords sound like, and certain phrases, or chord formations. Like, I love doing it, so I just know it. It's, like, embedded in me. So when I hear music, like I hear all that. Oh, that's that. And people have put me on the spot and say, hey, I'm going to play you this song, and then I want you to pick up a guitar and play it. Like, I can do it. So having said that, I knew all Cliff's music, and I knew all of Ike's. So Outset, we were at a gig in Delaware watching Ike, and John had gotten sick and he lost his voice. So instead of like canceling the night, handed the reins over to Cliff, so Cliff could start doing his stuff to at least give people a show.
Right.
But the problem was Joanne didn't really remember some of the bass parts she had played, but guess he did. So like a little... Next thing you know, I'm on stage and I'm playing like Cliff's first song off his like first solo record. And I'm up there doing it, man. And I'm playing bass. I'm looking at Phil. Are you getting this? Are you getting... I went out to eat afterwards, and like John was just like, dude, like like all that stuff. Like I was like, yeah, man, like I love Cliff's stuff, like I love your stuff, and I said I could do it for you as well. He's like, really? I was like, yep. Next thing you know, a couple of months later, he called me and asked if I would talk with filling in for Cliff for a night show because Cliff couldn't make this one gig that he had family commitment. So I was like, yeah. Now, at the time, I was only going to do one night gig. It was it, one night gig. You would have thought I was preparing to go on world tour with them. Like, I had all my pedals out and my bass, like, I knew every song inside out, every pedal change, like, you name it. It was just like razor focus. And when I went down and rehearsed with them, I remember they were like, what song you want to do? I was like, you name it. I said, I'll do all of In Real Life if you want. But they said at the time, it was the big song, Into Philadelphia. And we played it one time through. And I remember them just looking at each other and being like, oh, okay, do we need to go? Do we need to go on? It was awesome. And then Outset ended because, people were going in different ways in that band. And I was working with John more, with Ike. So then I went full-time into Ike. And then playing in Ike worked out for me because when John started bringing back the Caulfields, they also needed a lead guitarist for that band as well because they lost all contact with the original guy. So The Fly, that was his nickname, The Fly. So I replaced The Fly in the Caulfields just by becoming good friends with John and playing in Ike. And at that point, by the time I started playing in the Caulfields, I had made a few records with John. And we worked in the studio together countless times, and like we're brothers at this point. But then, while playing in Ike, and then that kind of ended when Sue and I had David, our son. Then Ike kind of fizzled out, and that's when John started, going towards John and Brittany, and he went down that path. But then, like right around the birth of my son, Phil came back around and had started playing in a cover band down in South Philly at Xfinity Live, which was like a well-known venue down in the city for all the sports fans. And he had somehow got this great gig where they were the house band for the grand opening and needed a lead guitar player. He goes, hey man, we're going to be playing music like almost every weekend. They're going to be paying us free food, free parking, and you get to hang out with your buddies. And I was like, well, that sounds great. And then from there, 13 years later, I was in a cover band with Phil, who I started out with in Outset. And Bangarang was our cover band. And we just played our last gig a couple months ago after playing Xfinity Live for almost 13 years.
Wow.
And out of playing there, we were lucky enough to play a lot of weddings that were great paying, and they don't send 1099s for. It was the most money I've ever made in my life playing music. And I know like cover bands kind of get crapped on, and it's like an insult to a musician, and I fully get it. I've been there. I was doing original music for a very, very long time. But my God, when you have bills and you have a gift and you're able to do that gift well, the Joker said it, never do anything for free. So there's a plus for cover bands. But it was cool because I got to, and our final show as a band, we actually got to have Josh, who was our original drummer in Outset, play it with us because our original drummer, Jay, who was also in Ike, he kind of hurt his back the past year, so we had fill-in drummers. So Josh came in, he actually flew in and played our very last gig with us. So it was me, Phil, and Josh, like on stage again, like ending this 13 years of playing music in this place. We did it together, like we ended it out. It was just really cool. So full circle moment. Oh, see what I did there? Yeah. Phil, if you're watching, you'll get that. Anyway, go ahead. That's the name of a Phil Murphy solo record on iTunes.
So you've released 3 original albums between 2019 and 2024, and then you have a long list of covers that you've released. How do you choose the covers, and what has been your personal favorite so far?
Oh, Tim, you're the best, man. This is great. I love this. Well, for the covers, I started off. Well, first of all, Halloween is my Christmas, really. The way people celebrate Christmas, I celebrate Halloween. I love Halloween. I love all things horror. So when I first moved into this new studio in 2018, I thought it would be fun. After I set up everything and everything ready to go, I didn't know what to record. I didn't have any projects. I didn't have any songs. And I was like, well, I want to record something to like test this out. And we were coming up on Halloween. And I was like, I'll record Monster Mash. That'll be fun. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll get Jay in here and I'll do like a little version of Monster Mash just to like do something. And then when it was done, I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. We shot like the lowest budget video of all time, which actually got me into like all the video stuff later. But super, super, super low budget, but hilarious. And it did like really well. And then I was like, it'd be cool. Maybe next year I'll do like another like spooky themed song. But buddies of mine who are also like huge film geeks and horror lovers were like, dude, when you do that next year, can we do it with you? And that was Bart and Brett Riley, and they're bass player and a drummer. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm like, it's fun, man. It would be more fun to do it with friends. So, so in the beginning of it, it was more like I had the song choice. So, like for the longest time, I know I wanted to do Pet Sematary by the Ramones, right? So like I would tell them the song, and I was, they would say, cool, we'll learn it, and we'll kind of do it our own little way. But now it's morphed into more every year. We start trying to plan it like months and months prior because we change our minds so much. Nothing more than like the last Halloween. The original idea for the last Halloween free cover was we were going to do, we were going to do Shot in the Dark by Ozzy Osbourne. Because I love Ozzy and like his death really affected me, and I was like, if there's a time to do it, it's now. And I had like a version of it in my head because, as you know, now I hear things, right? I knew how I wanted to do it because I actually cannot stand the recording of Shot in the Dark. Actually, the entire Ultimate Sin album sounds awful, but the songs are good. But the record sounds awful. So I was like, I'm going to record it the right way. That's the hubris in me. There's a high school word for you. But I was like, I'm going to do it my own way and record it how I think I hear it. So I pitched it to them, and they were all about it too. They were like, oh yeah, man, Ozzy, it's the right choice. So we all started learning it. And I'll say it took me a little bit to learn the solo. Not really easy. But I had it. And we were going to record it, and we were at the studio. We were ready to do it, like the song, the Ozzy song, like everyone knew it. And right before we did anything, one of the guys said, by the way, have you ever heard blah, blah, blah's version of this song? And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, it came out last year. And I had no idea what they were talking about, and proceeded to play for me the singer from Slipknot. What's his name?
Corey Taylor.
Thank you. Corey Taylor apparently last year put out a cover of Shot in the Dark, before Ozzy passed.
Wow.
So they played it for me, and it was the exact way I wanted to do it. And I had lost all inspiration and drive to do it because we were basically going to be recreating that, and it sounded so good. I was like, there's no point where I'm not going to be able to do it better than that, because that's kind of how I wanted to do it. So we all sat in this room right here, and 3 grown men on iPhones looking for songs that we could do. And I had wanted to do Somebody Watching Me like for a couple years, but I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And it just dawned on me like that there was a way that I could do that song that would be different than like other versions I had heard of it. And I just talked to them and said, what about doing this? And we were just at that point, because we were getting down to the wire. I think we did it in like the beginning of October. Not good. Like the artwork for it was literally done like the night before Halloween, so I could upload it. Yeah, it was great. So all of that to say, it's become more of a democratic process of choosing the song. But I did pitch them the idea for next year to maybe that we write our first.
Oh.
So there's a little nugget for you.
Yeah.
But I think next year I'm aiming towards we're going to write one together.
That's cool.
That'd be fun,
Yeah.
right? Write a spooky song?
Sure.
Maybe we'll get you involved. Make a video. Yeah, all right, we're done. All right, go ahead. Keep going.
So when you first built Brett Sounds, where we are right now, was it originally meant just for you, or did you always intend to have a working studio where you could be a producer, engineer?
That, always. I never wanted it to be just for me. To be honest with you, I'd rather work on other people's stuff rather than mine. I find it easier. But no, I want to help everyone and anyone I can, because it's my favorite thing to do. Like, I love playing live, and I miss it. You know, because right now every band that I've been in has kind of called it quits. So this is the first time ever I'm not in an active playing band. I'm for hire if you need me for anything. I like being in the studio more because I think it's more creative, and I think it's a whole different thing. But I prefer being in a studio. So, and I like helping people bring their stuff to life, because a lot of people know what they want to do, but just don't know how to get there, or don't know the tools to use to do it. And I feel like that stuff really comes easy to me, and it's part of that thing of we're about to record your record, right?
Yes.
It's one of those situations where you could pick up that guitar right now and say, hey, here's one song. It doesn't even have to be plugged in. And as you're playing it, it's almost like a band is playing it in my mind. It's how I work. And a little interesting little thing about Phil Murphy from Outset was the way I am about hearing things. When he hears music, he sees colors. It's amazing. I know people are going to... And he used to tell me that, embarrassingly, thinking I would make fun of him, but I thought it was, incredible. I was like, oh, that's awesome, dude. I'm like, if that's how it affects you... So anytime he would play me one of his songs, I would say to him, what color is that, Or I would play him one of my songs, or I would send him one of my songs and say, what color do you see? And he would write back, blue, baby, or, oh, that one is this. And it's cool, but that's his version of how, when he hears it, his mind is operating in that creative level, and I feel like everyone has that to an extent, and I love helping people find that.
What are the things you're most proud of in the studio?
What are the things I'm most proud of?
Yeah.
The fact that it exists. I've been lucky enough to, I've been doing this for a long time. I graduated from this recording program back in, 1999. And ever since then, I've just been, collecting everything that, some things are mine that I've gotten. A lot of things in here people have given me as gifts. Some things people have left that kind of just never got returned. Not because I've kept them, but because they just kind of never asked for them. So they're here. I'm proud that I built it kind of all myself. I've had a lot of friends. A good friend of mine, David Melendez, helped me actually build the studio and a lot of the equipment in here. He's given me and has really helped me tremendously with the studio. I kind of consider him like my silent partner and everything because he's helped me out so much. I'm just proud of the results that people seem to get here. I'm lucky. I'm not trying to sales pitch myself or anything here, but like I've been lucky that where everyone I've worked with has like genuinely enjoyed the process. A lot of people have even said to me like, I hate recording, and so do I to an extent. And I get that, but they're like, but there's something about when we do it here, like it doesn't bother me as much. He's like, I don't feel it as much, and that to me is a huge compliment, and that is why I don't do this just for me, because I know if I can do that for someone, I can do it for as many as I can. So I would say that. And my horror collection's pretty good too.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But yeah, it's a lot of money.
Do you have a favorite figure up there?
Oh man, that's a good one. Probably if I had to choose one, probably the Alien Queen right there.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's really cool.
I was proud of that purchase. That was a Comic-Con purchase.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was one of those deals where on the bottom it's like 1 of 100.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, ooh, okay. And I'm proud of that only for the sole fact that it's so old I've never broken it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's pretty fragile. Now watch. Tonight, that'll fall.
One time, fun fact, we were recording one of the songs for my dad's EP, Ruby Brick Road, out now. Go listen. One of your Michael Myers figures fell down.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Over here fell down when we were listening back, right? Out of nowhere. Yep. True story. That's how we knew we were making gold.
Yeah.
When you make Michael drop,
And he doesn't come back up.
Yeah.
Good segue. You love movies.
I do.
So do I, as you know.
I know.
Have any of your favorite movies inspired any of your work in music?
Oh yeah. Big time. John Carpenter. Aside from like being one of my favorite like horror directors, I love him as a film composer.
Oh yeah.
And I love his scores, and he has a lot of albums out of stuff that like isn't even in movies and are like just volumes of music that he has lying around that are incredible. I love. And that really inspires me with some stuff, and I've been working on a lot of like newer stuff where I'm finding like film music has inspired me more to incorporate it in like different ways. So yeah, that's one way. But yeah, there's been movies, shows. I can tell you a little fact about Outset. We used to have a song called Life on an Island that everyone loved, and only Phil and I knew it was about the show Lost.
Oh.
If you listen to that song, it's the plot of Lost, and everyone's like, oh God, we love the island song. We're like, yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's like oh, here's a little fact for you. So a buddy of mine, his name's Mark Mackner. He's an independent filmmaker, and he makes like low budget like B horror movies that are like so fun to watch. Like, dude, you would love them. Like, I know you would love them. And he does stop animation dinosaur effects. And he had reached out to me and was like, hey, I think my second album had just came out, and asked me if there was any song on there that I could like give him to put in the movie. And I was like, nah, I don't think so, man. I'm like, what's this movie about? He's like, dinosaurs, and they're going to like wreak havoc on the earth. I'm like, I don't think my music's going to do that for you. I was like, let me write one for you. So me and my buddy Jay, who played drums for like all my records, we came up with a 2-minute metal masterpiece of a mix of like Metallica and Ozzy. And we recorded this thing in probably 2 hours here.
Wow.
And when you watch the movie, he chose it as the opening title song.
Wow. And
he loves to send me reviews where they'll review the movie and completely just destroy the movie, but they'll be like, but the song was good. He sent me one of those where it was like, the movie wasn't great, but like the title track was banging. And I was like, and he was like, hey man, a compliment for you is a compliment for me. And I was like, wow, okay. So Yeah, I got to say I did like a song for a movie. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It's pretty awesome. It's called Dinosaur. Is the name of the song. Surprise. Yeah, he told me he wanted it to be a mix of like G.I. Joe meets like Transformers or something like that. He was like, take the theme songs from like the cartoons we loved and combine them. I was like, got it. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. I'm actually proud of that. There you go. That's the answer. I'm proud of Dinosaur.
And you have a lot of guitars in your studio. Do you have a favorite?
Wow, Timmy, man. No one's ever asked me these questions. This is amazing. Do I have a favorite? Wow. Two guitars come to my mind right away. And I think I'm just going to go with the one that came first. I'm going to show it to you. So, this guy right here, it's just a regular Fender Strat. Mm-hmm. But I was at a Guitar Center in somewhere, I forget where. But I just love the color of it. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was in Outset. And when I plugged it in, I thought it was like perfect for the sound that I was like trying to go for with Outset. And then I just like would play this guitar all the time. And from playing this guitar like so much, I like come to love playing Strats to where the Strat is like my favorite guitar now. Mm-hmm. And I always look as this as the first Strat I ever had that like I truly loved, and I still play it. It's great. It sounds great. It's got like great clean sound, and you can get a little rocky with it. So I would say this guy.
Now, the fans want to know, what was it
all
like?
three of them?
All three of them.
You, your dad, and like
John.
Yeah, John. Yeah, I guess, maybe. Okay.
We want to know, what was it like recording the Grammy-nominated song Leave It Up to Fate with Tim Butler Squared? I've heard they are very difficult to work with.
Oh, man, are we actually going to get into that? We're allowed to talk about that now? Are we good about that?
I don't know.
No. Well, I'll say this. I seem to have a thing for recording father-son duos. And I love it. That has been like one of the most rewarding things for me. Again, my buddy Dave Melendez. I worked with Dave recording his album, and then I worked with Dave and his son David Lee recording their record together. And then I worked with Tim, your dad, and then you had written a song, came in here, recorded it together, available on all streaming platforms. And I love that. And especially, I love the relationship you have with your dad because you love music so much. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes you blow me away because you show me bands I'm like, where did he hear about that? Like, and I love that, man. Like, I love that about you. And watching you and your dad, like, interact and talk about music and knowing your dad as long as I have and knowing what kind of music he loves and what he writes. So, like, seeing you guys, like, come together, like, I haven't experienced it for myself yet with my son because he's leaning more towards sports. But it's amazing to see. And like Dave and his son, and now his son Lee is in here with his band called Stealing Society, and they're recording one of their EPs with me. And it's like drastically different than your father's music. Your father's music, you know, usually had one solid tempo all the way through. But with these guys, I got like 20 tempos and like one song. It's been an education in recording harder rock. Let's say that. But no, man, I'm looking forward to starting your thing because that's going to be fun. And, you know, mixing what you got going on with what your dad's got going on and that weird thing I have where I can hear stuff. Like, please, you got to save me from this metal, though, man. It's sitting in front of these and hearing these, like, double kick drums coming at you like a machine gun. These guys are really good, but my God, I was like, this is not pop rock. But it's awesome because I love it because I just love all music.
Now, when you take on studio projects, do you always know what your role will be? An engineer, producer, both?
I always assume when somebody wants to work with me that, you know, I don't really advertise myself that well. I'm not great at it at all. It's like, you know, people are just aware of my work and they'll reach out to me, and usually like when they reach out to me, usually it's in the I just want you to be you and do what you do role. People usually come in knowing that, anything that leaves the studio, I don't want to sound bad, for you or me. So anything I work on, I want to sound great, and I just, naturally know how to make something better where it's not going to necessarily maybe serve you as the performer on it, but it's going to serve the song overall. And I think that's like one thing that like really needs to be reined in when like you have young bands coming in, because like everybody wants to come in and do their thing and show off and be them, but it's not always about that. And I think the bands that stay together the longest are the bands that realize that it's not about the song or it's not about the playing, unless you're a prog band like Yes or Rush,
What was the process of finding your signature guitar tone, and was there any challenge in figuring it out?
So this goes back to like how long I've been playing guitar. So I went through all the phases, okay? I started off learning Beatles and Beach Boys songs, right? And I could get those down. Then I remember graduating to my first electric guitar was actually an Epiphone Les Paul that was bought off my friend Brian, who I still know to this day. And I started listening more. I remember Pearl Jam had just come out, and I was blown away. I remember Pearl Jam was the band that changed my life musically, 100%. And I started getting more into electric guitar playing. From there, that led me into like Guns N' Roses, learning how to play those songs, which led into Sabbath, which led into Ozzy. So by the time I got into Ozzy and like Van Halen, I was in high school. And I wanted to be that. I wanted to learn Randy Rhoads. I wanted to learn Zakk Wylde. I wanted to learn everything. David Gilmour. I tried to do it all. And I realized very quickly that I wasn't fast. I was not Eddie Van Halen. I could copy it to an extent, but I just didn't have the speed. And to this day, like I really don't have speed. It wasn't until like after high school where I started listening to more, I want to call them not experimental bands, but like more bands that were just more sonically out there. So I was listening to a lot of like shoegaze music. So I was listening to a lot of a band called My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
My Bloody Valentine kind of led me into Radiohead. I'm a huge Radiohead fan. And I started realizing that a guitar doesn't have to sound like a guitar. And then I really, really fell in love with U2. And I understand everyone's point on them, but I think the Edge, musically, is the epitome of what I want to do as a player. Like, the playing he does, when I listen to it, it takes me somewhere. It's not, oh my God, how's he playing that fast? Oh my God, how's he doing all those notes so big? Like, oh my God, he just blew my mind. Instead, it's close your eyes, be brought somewhere.
Yeah.
To me, I wanted to do that because that's how I felt when I would listen to My Bloody Valentine. I would listen to My Bloody Valentine and just close my eyes and be like, that's a guitar? A guitar can do that?
Yeah.
And then when I started listening to U2, and I just started to fall more in love with the idea that you could make a guitar sound like a landscape.
Yeah.
That was way more interesting to me. And then, I am a huge, David Gilmour is like my favorite guitarist. Listened to a lot more Pink Floyd. So I got really more into like melodic guitar tones that were more maybe ambient driven. And then how I added my spin on it was I just put a lot more focused distortion on it. I call it. I'm going to sound like a nerd here, but like it's very important to me how distortion is controlled like in a song, but like especially playing live. I don't think a lot of people put as much thought into settings on overdrive and distortion pedals like as they should, because it plays a huge role in like tone. And I feel like I've gotten myself to a point where for my ears I know what I need to do for what I'm using, if that makes sense. And that basically is how I kind of found my tone, was just finding that happy medium. Like, how can I make my guitar sound otherworldly, but still be direct enough where you hear everything I'm doing, and it just doesn't sound like a mess, you know? I know sometimes it might sound like a mess, but it's designed to sound like that.
So you've been recognized as a guitar player, producer, songwriter. You are a solo artist and sought after utility guy in multiple bands. You've played it in original and cover projects. It's a very well-rounded musical career. What do you find most fulfilling in that?
Just the fact that you just said that I do all those things. That's amazing. It's awesome that I get to do all of that and still do it. You know, I'm not playing now as much, but I'm planning to try to work more in the studio. I'm already working on, I already have 2 ideas for new records that I want to do.
Nice.
I'm just happy to be still relevant and that people find me good enough to help them.
So for my last question,
Okay.
you may answer it in any way you'd like.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for any up-and-coming musicians who wants to dip their hands into the music business?
So I've done my homework because I've watched your videos, and I've thought about this very, thoroughly, I feel. And the answer I have for you is, if you are a musician, and if you're a singer, a guitarist, drummer, doesn't matter, learn multiple instruments. I think it's important, and if you have the talent enough to play guitar, play drums, be a singer, there's something in you that's there. And I have found many times that knowing how to play an instrument is important and can be really helpful and really teach you more about music and other instruments. So I can't play all of them, but I can play a lot. But I know people that can play all of them, and I just think that's an important thing to have in a world where you can't rely on people. We live in a world where people are very busy, and if there's a musician you like and you want their style or playing, it might be hard to get, might be hard to afford, you know. So I think the best thing you can do is, if you have a passion for music and, you're looking for people like me, whatever that means, for an answer to a question like that, that's my sincere thing, is learn as many instruments as you can, because you're going to help yourself tremendously down the road if you get into a situation where you find you're a songwriter now. You want to go into a recording studio and record your first song, Well, do you have a band? No, don't need one. I got it all. And you're probably going to know it so well that you'll be able to record it like that. Save yourself a lot of time and money. Now, if you have great people that are great players and you have a great relationship and you trust them, use that, because it's always going to be much better to have someone else's talent with yours, right? Because 2 is better than 1. But if it's hard to get that second person, you have to rely on yourself, especially if you want to try to do something with it. So that's my answer. Was that good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, man. You're doing a great job, man. Seriously, this is great. I love everything you're doing. High five.